This episode of Kind of Funny Gamescast is brought to you by Movement Watches. Movement Watches was founded on the belief that style shouldn't break the bank. The watchmaker's goal is to change the way consumers think about fashion by offering high-quality, minimalist products at revolutionary prices. With over 500,000 watches sold to customers in 160-plus countries around the world, Movement Watches has solidified itself as the world's fastest-growing watch company. Greg Miller has his sexy one with the red hands and the black face. Ooh, baby. It looks nice. Movement watches start at just $95. At a department store, you're looking at $400 to $500. Movement figured out that by selling online, they were able to cut out the middleman and retail markup, providing the best possible price. We're talking about classic design, quality construction, and styled minimalism. You know I'm a fan of that. You can get 15% off today with free shipping, free returns by going to movementwatches.com/kinda. That's MVMT watches.com/kinda. Okay? Join the movement. What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode 103 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. As always, I'm Tim Gettys, joined by the coolest dudes in video games, Colin Moriarty and Greg Miller.
Flag on the play.
Wow.
It's for you.
It's blue. It's a blue.
He didn't like it. He didn't like it at all.
If we threw that at Boise State, you wouldn't be able to see it on the field. It's a little football joke.
The refs are all down doing this, pawing at the field.
Because the field is blue.
Yeah, you'd love Boise State's field.
Really?
Yeah.
They have blue grass?
Yeah.
How do you make blue grass?
It's just turf.
Surf and turf.
Surfing? What?
Yeah. No, it's just turf.
Football,
it's just blue turf.
football
It's just blue turf.
Okay.
It's very eye-catching.
It's ridiculous.
Yes.
I say
appreciate that.
eye-burning, but
I like that a
it.
lot.
I like it a lot as well.
I'm a big fan. Kev, can you pull up a picture of this?
Boise State. Jersey State's not a thing.
Jesus Christ. Boise State football field. That's all you got to put in there. You'll find it. You'll find it right away.
I'm excited about this.
When are they
does
bringing
sound
back
something I'd like.
NCAA football? I feel like the NCAA has gotten better
Someone
about
was
this
just
player
posting about
profile.
this
That's because
recently
we miss it. We
on
all miss
Twitter.
it.
After in a few years when the athletes start getting paid,
Yeah,
I think,
exactly.
and they own their likenesses and stuff, I think
Yeah.
that EA will get back into the game.
Do you think that's
I really hope they do.
an inevitable
There it is.
future?
There it is.
Oh, I
yeah,
like that
100%.
a lot. I don't like blue and orange, though. That combo has never been
Can
nice.
you just take, I mean, they gave you something. Isn't that better than nothing? Aren't you sick of seeing green fields everywhere?
Yeah, I mean, I really do appreciate the blue.
And then when they put on their blue jerseys and play on it, they're in camouflage.
Oh my God.
No one
I
can
like
see
that
it. The
even more.
TV camera, the announcer's like, we don't even, this away team. We're
The
waiting
ball
for
is
the
moving down. No, that's where there's a person. The person has the ball. Sorry, I thought a ball was going on its own.
Ladies and gentlemen,
yeah.
this is the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Each and every week we get together to talk about video games and all the things that we love about them. You can get the show early over on patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. And this month only, you can also get Kind of Funny Live 2, the full video. If you don't want to, help us out, give $1, because it's only $1 to get Kind of Funny Live 2. I think it's worth it. Do you think it's worth it, Greg?
It's worth $1. 3 hours of entertainment,
It's
including
worth
Cisco
$1.
the dragon. Kevin
The
gets
dragon
engaged.
himself.
Gia is in a Pokemon costume.
She is. Anyways, if you don't want to, you can wait. Kind of Funny Live 2 will come out on February 6th for everybody for free on youtube.com/kindoffunny. And this show will be released for free for everybody on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames next week. Podcast services, all that stuff. Also, another change we made recently, Kind of Funny Morning Show. You can catch that on youtube.com/kindoffunny. We talk about some video game stuff. It's a weird crossover. We're in a point where it's just like, I don't know. Where the fuck do we put things?
Sure.
There's no rhyme or reason.
Yeah. That's
But we
just
do
insanity. The show's
Is the
just
Symphony of the Night
insanity.
one new?
No, it's not new. I haven't updated it yet. I'm planning a big 2017
I don't
update.
remember seeing that.
He's
That's an awesome
he's been
one.
releasing some hotness.
Yeah?
Orioto.
Who is this again? Yeah.
Orioto. You should go check him out on DeviantArt and all of his Facebook page and all that stuff. ORIOTO.
It's in the description.
Yeah, it's in the description always. There's a lower third.
Now, if he's over at DeviantArt, how many times has he drawn
Sonic the Hedgehog
and Tails making out?
as you've seen in this art, there's a lot of Sonic and Tails, but I don't know. There's no making out that I've seen on his
Sonic
account.
and Tails and cornholing. That's what they should make.
Cornholing.
Yeah.
That sounds nasty. What
It
you been
is.
playing, Greg?
A lot of stuff. Well, it's funny. In the past week, I've played a lot of stuff and then started playing an old game and focusing on that. I gave a brief rundown on PS I Love You or whatever. The Yakuza preview has lifted, so I'll start there and give you new information. I played Yakuza 0 the first night I got it. What had happened is got Gravity Rush 2, played that for a night. The next day, Yakuza 0 came in, played that for the night. The next day, I got distracted by something else, and then the weekend came, and blah, blah, blah. We'll get to that in a second, though. Yakuza 0, though, more Yakuza, the prequel to the Yakuza story we know and stuff. This is something I mentioned last week when we were talking about open world fatigue. in the fact that some open worlds we talk about, like why is it even like this? What is it really drawing? That's always been my thing with Yakuza games. Again, I reviewed them all the time for IGN. I enjoy a good Yakuza game, of course. You know, are you familiar with the series?
Yes. Yeah.
All right, cool. So it's like very loosely the Japanese GTA. Not nearly that big of an open world, but that's the idea of let's play through this gangster Yakuza mafia story or whatever, run around their red light district. This one's set in 1989, so it's a bit of a callback. There's different things going on in there. But it is the same idea of, cool, I can go into this shop and buy this, soup or whatever to keep on me to use as a healing item. But I can also just go into the arcades and play games. I can go in and play the UFO catcher game.
You love that game.
I do love the UFO.
favorite game.
And that's the thing. I'm continuing to play it in Yakuza because I'm like, I should have gotten that item. I don't like how this is, and then you tip it over. It's just like a real UFO catcher game. You tip something over, you're playing it to get it into the right spot.
Yeah.
And then at any time when you've collected all the prizes, you can go over and tell the people it's time to change out the prizes, and they change out the prizes. You go back and play some more.
That sounds very detailed.
Yeah. And they got a couple of classic Sega stuff, arcade games in there to play and stuff. But it's the same thing of just like, if you want to play a Yakuza game and just mainline that story, you can and go through it. And what I think usually Yakuza games excel is that it's still an interesting story. It is this, we're playing there as Kazuma again, this time before he actually goes anywhere, and this whole family that he's in and with his clan and how he's going to move up to eventually become a big deal and then go off to an orphanage. Spoiler alert for what happens in the rest of the Yakuza games. But interesting. I like the characters. I like where it's going. There's this air of mystery. It's like, of why what's happening. The story is happening to him and what's going on. And, I beat up a guy and he cut off his own finger, and a sense of honor. I'm like, yeah, that's fucking cool. That's what Yakuza is great at, right? Because Yakuza is usually this, and it always is, I guess, an interesting story that feels not grounded, obviously, but all the cutscenes of you interacting with the other, Yakuza bosses and the family members and explaining all the intricacies of how it all ties together. That always seems grounded in the way you talk, and then you just walk through streets and beat the fuck out of everyone, and like that's the whole thing of just like, it's got a really in-depth skill tree and unlockable system you're going through to get new moves if you want, or more health or more power this way to warm up your heat gauge faster, which allows you to do special moves and things. But they also have the last Yakuza game I remember playing was the zombie one I always talk about, and before that there was the other one, which must have been 6 is the next one that's coming out here, so it would have been 5. I'm rusty on all my numbers, but it's the one where we jumped around the different characters. There was of course like the lone shark with the secretary that he hated, and then she got hot and he liked her a lot, and I was like, oof, that's not a
Japanese
that's not a storyline you're allowed to do. But you jumped around between characters. This one set from Kaz's perspective, who I knew from my earlier Yakuza gameplay experiences, and rather than to still spice it up, it seems you can switch your fighting stance from brawler, which is very anchored, and you're giving out heavy slow blows, to you learn a new stance and you're able to jump around, be super fast and dodge around and kick the shit out of everybody and use them differently to fight different bosses and do different things like that. And that's where Yakuza is always very interesting, is that it is it's like a Dynasty Warriors in a lot of ways, mixed in with this then really good story of the fact that it is like, okay, cool, like you need to get from this one side of the red light district to this other side to catch a cab to continue the story. But on the way, if you just want to keep going down different alleyways, you're going to continue to find people like street punks or dudes dressed in black who just want to beat the fuck out of you. And you do that, and you earn money, and you earn your XP that you can then go and spend stuff. It's a fun game. It is the same thing I've talked about a lot in the past with Yakuza, though, where I like Yakuza. I enjoy a good Yakuza game, and this is where I think it's similar to a Dynasty Warriors. You know what you're getting. Like, you're playing through it, I'm like, oh, cool, the fighting styles are different. I don't remember this from previous. I'm pretty sure this is a new addition to this one. It gets rusty, though, because, again, I've played so many of them.
So, I mean, not holding you to this, because I'm sure you might not know all the information, but at PSX, last year, they announced Yakuza 0 and Yakuza 6.
Right.
Is 0 a new game, or is this a port of an old game?
Yakuza 0, to what I understand, is a new game. The thing about it, of course, is that it's been out in Japan forever. Not forever, but like a year and a half or whatever. Exactly. Here it is in America. And I'm pretty sure that's now what's happening with 6 as well, where 6 is out in Japan. Because when I tweeted, hey, I got Yakuza 0, I can't tell you about it, but I'm excited to play it. Some kid's like, I already got Yakuza 6, because he got the imported version and is playing that. And so that's usually what happens here, which makes it all the more cumbersome, because I remember going to TGS and getting my photo taken on the Yakuza throne with like the hostess girls there and stuff, but that was promoting the Yakuza that was coming out there in a second, which we were like 1 or 2 behind at the time. Got it. So it's all fucking tiddlywinks on the floor, but for me, it's whatever. But what I was driving at before, it's more Yakuza. I feel like they are doing this different thing where usually it's always cutscenes and, you know, telling you the story and you're going through it and okay, cool. They're doing this thing that's new to me. I think it's new to must be the introduction to the series of putting faces on the screen or having like still things like people moving behind you or whatever, but then just having text on the screen and it's like, okay, I'm fine with that. Whereas I don't need an animated cutscene, but it at first was a jarring thing to me, and I don't know if it's just a callback.
Like Fire Emblem style stuff.
I'm not familiar enough with Fire
It's just
Emblem.
like an anime-esque picture and
It's
then
not
text and the conversation.
similar to that. It's almost like it's in engine.
Persona does it too. Persona 4.
Sure, not to that degree.
Okay.
No. But like having you know, from the game, like him just standing there, but his mouth not moving, and you're just cutting. It's fine. But it was when I jumped into it, not knowing too much about Yakuza 0. I know it's a prequel. I know this. I was like, oh, is this their version of not a budget Yakuza, but like, here's how we'll get it out faster to continue working on Yakuza 6 to make the real thing, whatever. All that said, it's more Yakuza. If you're in the mood for Yakuza, you know what you're getting into. It's just like every other Yakuza. I feel like I enjoy it. I'm going to play it more. But it's one of those, I've done this weird thing this past week of games, just jumping around, where the night before I started Gravity Rush 2, reviews are up now, doing really well critically, which is great for them. For me, with Gravity Rush 2, it was a very similar thing of jumped in, started using the powers. I was happy to be back with Kat. I was happy I forget her, the reporter from the first game who now like her sidekick or whatever. I was like, oh, that guy again. Oh yeah, it was like fun to catch up with these characters that I hadn't thought much about since I played it and reviewed it on Vita. Jump back into that world. I thought it was a clever thing of like, I was like, what are we doing? Why is this happening? They had a cool reveal in the beginning and then she doesn't have her powers and how we're going to get them back and da-da-da. And going through that and playing that, I'm like, oh, fuck, Gravity Rush. This is fun. I enjoy Gravity Rush, but it is the same thing
But it
of
didn't
like,
turn your world upside down.
this is Gravity. More thing of, this is Gravity Rush. This is exactly what I expected. As I was talking about in PS I Love You XOXO, haven't gotten to the new powers which make you lighter and make you heavier, stuff like that. Had played that at PSX. But in terms of the storyline, I think I'm in chapter 2, but I was running around doing a bunch of the side quests. But it is the same thing. I'm just like, cool. I don't feel like this is a quantum leap, and on that level, then it's not scratching me, like pulling me back into it, making me want to play it over and over again. And so then got to the weekend. And like I said, neither of those games were tugging me, but I had 2064 read-only memories on my XMB or whatever you want to call it now for my live area for PS4. I was like, oh, fuck, right, this game. Jumped into that and played that for all of Saturday. I'm halfway through the game. It's 6 chapters. I think I'm 3 chapters through, a little bit more maybe. And really dig it. Really, really dig it. I was talking to Colin about it on PS I Love You of like, is it a visual novel? Is it an adventure? Or is it a point-and-click adventure game? It's somewhere in between all of that. You know what I mean? But really interesting story so far. I think it works really well for us because it's set in Neo San Francisco. It's 2064. We're in San Francisco, so I'm a journalist in the outer sunset, and I go to the Richmond and do stuff. Yeah, and there's news report because like
is Gordo's there?
No, I haven't seen it yet. It's not like free roam, so it's not that. The developer, I believe, he lives in San Francisco now, so I assume it's just like us where there'd be all these references. But references to what the 49ers and their quest for 10 and like how they're, playing against the Japanese guys and how it's expanded that way.
Yeah.
And it is this thing of what we always end up talking about, the story at its core is you're in your apartment and then in the middle of the night, this robot comes in, this AI that was made by your friend that you've fallen out of contact with, and someone just broke into his house and the robot ran all these things, and this robot is the first robot that is like self-aware and is learning on its own, and this is we've hit that point. It's called Turing, like the Turing test or whatever. And so it's like, okay, cool, let's go out and figure it out, what's wrong with your creator. And then it becomes like this investigative game of going through and talking to different people and trying to figure out how to get into this area to do this thing, to do that or whatever. But
what type of game is it? Like an adventure game? Or?
Yeah, see that we're back to that where like the best way I think to describe the gameplay is describe what you're looking at the entire time. And so when the screen, imagine it's a black screen, and then like up in the top half of the screen, you have this little postage stamp that is like, it's either the character that's talking to you, like a close-up of them, or it'll be like, your items, your menu, whatever you want to click through and do this. And then the other part is this long rectangle that takes up the rest of the screen on that top half of the screen. And that's showing you the scene of where you're at. So like when you're in your apartment, you don't ever see yourself. You never see your character. It's all from not even first person. You're looking at your apartment, your bed's there, your door's there, your computer's there, blah, blah, blah. The AI bot's there talking just there, but then close up in the thing. And then you have the dialogue of them pop up. It's all voiced their dialogue. So like Melissa Hutchinson is the Clem from Walking Dead. She's the robot Turing, and like a whole bunch of our other friends, like Austin Creed's in there and stuff. Up, down, down.
Oh,
cool. Their text pops up below that, but you hear it, and then when it's time, you have your response to pick what you want to say. So it is this visual novel adventure game of whatever, but it's not adventure game like Walking Dead is, where I feel like I'm making choices that are drastically influencing the game, nor is it an adventure game where I feel like it's, something Tim Schafer would do of like, how does this water bottle turn off the light? Like, it's not that kind of thing. There's no puzzle I've hit where it's like, there's no puzzles, I don't think. It's just an adventure that's unfolding with you in it, and you're in the seat driving, making
A
your
walking
choices.
simulator adventure game.
Sure, but no walking involved.
Simulator adventure game.
Whatever you want to call it, the story's cool and intriguing. This is definitely a game I'm going to get back to beat and actually see all the way through.
Cool.
But what happened is Sunday I woke up and I was under the weather. And I was like, I don't feel that great. I just want to stay under the covers. As much as I like read-only memories, it is a game that I feel like I'm all in. It's an experience of like, I want to just give this my attention and not get distracted. I needed something more throwaway, more disposable. And I was like, oh, you know what I want to do? I want to play a Lego game. And I thought about Lego Dimensions. And I was like, no, I'd rather earn a platinum. I'd rather get more trophies out of this. And all the Dimensions packs just have bronzes. So it's like, whatever. So what I remembered is that I never ever back when the PlayStation 4 came out, I never platinum Lego Marvel Superheroes, the original. Now I platinum Avengers. I'm in Lego Marvel Avengers, and so I went back, grabbed that, or downloaded it again, jumped in and picked up my save, and I just beat that. And so last couple nights, that's what I've been doing, sitting there, very DC Universe Online, very Skyrim, where I'm just sitting there with podcasts on the iPad. I listened to a whole bunch of Always Open last night from Barbara. Yeah. Listen to Always Open and just going through and just fucking picking up studs and unlocking characters and doing all that stuff. And
you live a thrilling life, Greg.
I know, right? And that's the thing, right? Of just like, I was going back and forth of like, well, what do I want to do? And I'm like, Gravity Rush is fun. Yakuza is fun. I don't feel like that right now. And same thing with like Real Memories, right? I don't feel like that much of a commitment to it. I do feel like just fucking being brain dead. We put in all this work these last couple of days, as we always do, and you work yourself to your bone. You get home and it's like, I cook, and then it's like, well, cool. I don't want to, real quick, shout out, as Colin would say, Nashville this season. Holy shit, are they killing it on CMT? I'll tell you what. 3 episodes are out. I'm through the first 2. The camera moves.
Yeah.
You can tell they got new showrunners in there. They're doing different things with the cameras, the storylines, the songs, of course, off the chart, amazing. But I watch that while I eat, and then it's like, oh, I want to play something. I want to do something. And it's like, all right, fine. I don't feel like.
Plots.
Yeah, I'll get in there and I'll make some more progress on this Lego Dimension games, chip away at that. And then today, of course, they put up this video about DC Universe Online, that they now are doing it for their 6th anniversary, that you can jump in, and similar to how Destiny and like it would let you jump to whatever level, or 25, whenever it was, so you could play that content. They're now doing a thing where you can get in there and get your combat rating immediately up to 100. And I have no idea what I left my combat rating at when I was playing as Taylor Swift, but I don't think I was at 100 yet. So I'm going to jump in there tonight and fuck around with that.
Okay.
What have you been playing, Colin?
Just more Tomb Raider. I'm almost to the end. I think the game won't end. But I'm also playing it very meticulously, but it just refuses to end. Chante, Half Genie Hero, I played extensively on Vita. I'm almost done with it. I actually had to, so I played it, it was wild card weekend in the NFL last weekend. So Vita is obviously a nice companion to that, especially considering all 4 games were fucking atrocious. Final Fantasy VI shout out in the background. But to me, this was the game I needed at the time, and for people that don't know, it's a Way Forward game. Way Forward, obviously very established at this point, old school studio. Yacht Club, which did Shovel Knight, spun off from them. You guys might know them, but they've done a bunch of old school games. And Chante actually has pretty deep heritage in Game Boy handhelds or Nintendo handhelds. And so I played it. It's kind of a pseudo Metroidvania. It's basically like what's a good example? It's kind of like Mega Man X, actually, where you go to a stage, there's things you can't access in that stage, yet you leave the stage, you go to the next stage or do something else, and you go back to the stage later and get it. So it's not like an open world like Symphony of the Night. It's a scattered world, but really, really good. I said on PS I Love You, and I must say again as a mea culpa that I said it's a 2.5D game, which aesthetically to me is not very pleasing usually. And in the very brief time I had played it before, I had spoken about it a couple episodes of PS I Love You ago. I said that I didn't really like it, and I think I was in terms of its aesthetic, and I was completely wrong about that, especially with the characters. Like Chante herself is an amazing character, but all of the ancillary characters, the beautiful animations in the game. The gameplay is not very difficult. It reminds me of Shovel Knight in that regard, where my one complaint about Shovel Knight was that when Yacht Club put that game out was just wasn't hard enough. And I feel that way with Way Forward and Chante. I think they could have made the game way harder.
But is Chante comparably hard to?
Yeah, I would say so. In that, like, you almost never. I mean, at least for me, I don't really die. I think Chante's easier than Shovel Knight. So I wish I could have used a little bit more of a challenge. There are other modes that you unlock, and I assume that will be something that comes to fruition. So I'm almost at the very end of the game, and in fact, I really wanted to jump into it on Monday. At night I was there, and I'm like, I only have an hour or so of the game left, if that. I'm collecting everything as well, all the items. So I'm almost. I have like, I don't know, like 95% of the items, and there's only one stage left. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to save this for this weekend when I become one with the living room and one with the couch. For divisional playoff games in the NFL, and having the Vita as a companion will be very good. And so I'm going to save it for that. And then there's a couple speedrunning options that I'd like to investigate in the game this weekend. Maybe one of them, you have to beat the game in about 4 hours with everything, and you have to beat the game in 2 hours with nothing to get the last trophies. And otherwise, I think, so it's a possible platinum. But we'll see how that all works out. And then I got Tales of... what are you going to...
I want to real quick just jump in to give a shout out to Read Only Memories. Remote play works really well with it, since there's no timing bar like a Walking Dead thing. So that's what I was doing when I was watching football with you on Saturday.
Tales of Berseria I got. It's the new Tales game. Obviously, we get a Tales game every 12 to 18 months in the United States, and have for some time. I'm a huge Tales fan, for people that don't know. And I was surprised when I tweeted out that I got it, and I was excited. People were like, I'm surprised that you're a Tales fan. I'm like, oh, I've been a Tales fan for a very, very long time, a very vocal Tales fan, so I'm surprised some people don't know that.
You're a bro shooter fan, so there's usually not much crossover.
I was thinking, it was October 1998 when I got it was my 14th birthday when I got Tales of Destiny for my birthday, October 14th, 1998, and fell in love with the franchise. And it's been almost 20 years that I've been playing Tales games, and I'm surprised by that. Destiny is still my favorite. I'm very partial to others like Legendia. Obviously, everyone loves Symphonia. I thought Exilia and Exilia 2 were excellent. Zestiria, which was the one that came out last, was the one that really threw me and a lot of Tales fans off, because it just didn't feel right. And it was the only Tales game that I played for a very brief time. I was like, this isn't right to me. There's something off about it. I played it for a few hours, and I'm like, this doesn't feel like a Tales game. And that's strange, because when I was in Japan playing it before it came out, I was excited about it, because I was like, it's more open. But what we found with Zestiria was that it's just empty. It's just, they use the same design philosophy, the same timeline in which to build one of these games. They build these games very quickly, and so it felt very empty and very heartless and very soulless. I also thought the combat system was kind of bad. So getting into Berseria was a little bit of a trepidatious kind of thing for me. But I immediately, after only playing the game for about 90 minutes or so this week, because I was been editing Colin Was Right at night, that it feels like better. It looks like a Tales game. The story is obviously very quirky and strange in Japanese, but interesting, and it's like comfort food for me. I really do feel like Tales and Dragon Quest are the only true AAA or A role-playing series that really stay true to themselves pretty consistently, and so I want to support that as well. And I'll be able to talk about more of that on PS I Love You and Gamescast next week when I have a little bit more experience in it. That game comes out, I think, late January for everyone else. So those are the 3 games I'm playing, and tonight I'm really looking forward to stayed up till 5 a.m. last night editing Colin Was Right, and I'm excited to have tonight open to be able to jump back into Berseria, because I really feel like, Final Fantasy 15 didn't really speak to me at all, but it gave me this hankering similar to I Am Setsuna, where I'm like, I want to play a big role-playing game and spend 40 or 50 hours with it, because it just feels like the thing I want to do. And I'd also like to get it out of the way, because we're going to get Resident Evil 7 soon.
Resident Evil.
So that's what I've been playing, and shout out to Tomb Raider, still a great game. Rise of the Tomb Raider, really, really fantastic. Shout out to Chante, Half Genie Hero, which is available on a bunch of platforms. I'm playing it on Vita. You guys should check that out and support WayForward. And then preliminary shout out to the Tales team and to Namco Bandai for Tales of Berseria.
Tim,
Speaking of Resident Evil, for the first time since E3, I got to do I played the new Resident Evil 7 demo.
oh,
And because I'm not
since E3, okay.
Well, so at E3 they announced it, and then I played it there with VR or whatever. And then since then, I'm a little confused at how they released the demos, because it sounds like it's the same demo. They just keep updating it.
yeah.
I
think when they update it, though, they unlock new paths or endings or whatever. I only played it at PSX, and I remember them being like, well, you can go home and play it, and there's different ways and different things.
Yeah, eventually. So beginning hour is the one I played now. And originally, back in the day, we played the kitchen demo. And the kitchen, it's a cutscene now in beginning hour in the demo. Anyway, it's old news, but I played through this for the first time at home, not PlayStation VR, just using the PS4. And god damn, that game is so scary. I was playing it before Gia got home, so it was just me alone. I'm like, why am I doing this? And I turned the lights off. I was like, I'm gonna do this right.
Hell yeah.
And it was horrifying. But like, I cannot wait for this game to get here for us, because it it seems like the type of game that I want Resident Evil to be. I know a lot of people are upset that this doesn't seem like the pure experience that they expect. And I know a lot of other people are burned about it being too actiony. But I think that like there is a middle ground of what the OG Resident Evil fans want. But for me, I don't even think that we need more of that, especially getting the remake constantly remastered, re-upgraded, whatever. Everything. I think that we will always have those games. So I like that this is trying something different, and especially now that PT is no longer a thing. I thought PT was very special, and already playing this demo, it lacked, I think, some of the polish that PT had, but I think it makes up for it in there's more game there.
Sure.
And because especially, and there's also more just variety of environment, because in PT you're literally just going around the hallway over and over and over. With this, just even having stairs and like having that, like going up and down the stairs is like super liberating, and it allows for a lot of fear because it's always going into the doorway and like seeing what's on your left or right. That's the scariest part. But being upstairs and looking down, seeing a stairwell and knowing that there's could be something from that door, or from just down the hall. It's like a whole other level to it that I'm like, man, this is super scary. Can't wait to keep playing it. I'm going to force you to sit next to me as I play because I'm a baby and I cannot play that game fully. But I do enjoy the game's use of the first person perspective to kind of create the scare moments because they know what you're looking at all times. So when you're going down a ladder, they know that if they put something behind you, it's going to be scary. You know,
sure.
But they also, like a horror movie, like any good horror movie would, they play with those expectations.
100%.
So it's not always something there. And it's. I thought, at least in the demo, it did a really good job of having me not know when the scares were going to be there, and when they were, it was really damn scary. I don't really like the PT-esque. You have to do all this really weird, obscure shit to get the good ending and progress the right way. I got the bad ending and then went on YouTube to the rest of the endings. And I'm like, man, you had to do a lot of complicated shit to get this done. It's kind of adventure game-esque of what you're talking about, the water bottle and the light.
And that's the thing is like when I got the bad ending in my initial playthrough, but then when I finished up, the PR representative was talking to me and I was like, well, when you replay it, I forget, I'm rusty now, but it's you don't need to watch the tape to do that. You just know to go to that area and open that door then. And so like if you do that, you're cutting it out, which then tells the game that you've played it before, which does this. And
and I'm interested to see how the game differs from the demo. I know a lot of press got to do the first 4 to 5 hours of it a couple weeks ago, and
we were invited.
We ended up not wanting to go because I want to just experience the game. I'm interested because Capcom's saying that this game is going to be a 14 to 16 hour experience. I'm like, I don't know that I need that much of that. So I'm interested because I can't imagine them doing that with this game being that for that long. I imagine it being a bit more linear over that time, which I'm actually okay with. I just don't think that I need all this super obscure shit for 16 hours.
Sure.
But very excited for it. The demo was super scary, and it's a beautiful game minus the characters. Like, in the demo you see very few people, but like, man, they're ugly as hell. Like, it totally doesn't fit. It takes you out of it.
Maybe those people are just ugly in that universe.
No, but like they're real ugly and shiny, and like I don't think they look. No, it's all bad. But the most important game I played was the Nier Automata demo that's available now on PlayStation 4. If you haven't played it, get that shit right now. It's only 30 minutes. Maybe now. I lost track of time. I don't even know, but it wasn't too long. But I've been really excited about that game for a long time. A lot of people have been asking if I played the old ones. Absolutely not. They didn't look interesting to me. They always confused me. I remember reading about them, and it's like, correct me if I'm wrong if you know anything, but Nier was 2 different games on Xbox 360 and PS3. Like, same name, totally different games, totally different characters. Something like that.
Doesn't sound familiar to me,
There's some weird shit that I remember being like, what the fuck? And it also just didn't sound interesting to me. This sounds a lot more easy to wrap my head around. Platinum, it sounds like the good Platinum is working on it. And I like the character designs. It reminds me a lot of PS2 era Onimusha, Devil May Cry type games. And it has the fluidity of a Bayonetta, but without the, at least for me, the added complexities and stuff, or at least you don't need to go that deep with it. So I'm super enjoying it. The super over the top boss fights, like God of War-esque, but just with a different aesthetic. So I'm super into that. I love the mobility of the game and the fact that every like 5 minutes the perspective shifts, and they spent a lot of time with the camera to make sure that you were playing the game and guided in a way that is the most fun at any given moment. So the character 2B has a bunch of swords, and it's kind of like Final Fantasy 15 where the swords are like flying around her and she doesn't need to actually hold them. And then there's this like little sentry robot thing that flies around her and shoots. So it's kind of like Devil May Cry in the sense that at any point you can slice with your sword or shoot with the guns. And if you hold the R1, it's just shooting. It kind of becomes a dual stick shooter. So you can control where the guns are shooting while slicing people up. So they're 1 second it feels like Devil May Cry. 1 minute it feels like bullet hell. Top-down shooter, and the camera adjusts accordingly. So there'll be enemies all around, and they're all robots, so they just like keep responding. It like contextually makes sense, and they shoot you with all these like orbs and stuff, and it really becomes it feels like Resogun in that type of game where it's like, this is fucking awesome. And then there's the added layer of, but it's an action game, and you're running around and doing stuff, and because the mobility feels so good and the controls feel so tight, it's really satisfying to play through. And as you're going through, then the camera will shift from the top-down view over, and all of a sudden becomes like a side-scrolling platformer. And it never feels wrong. Like the controls keep feeling like they're, because the controls are the same, it's just the camera, but the camera never gets in the way. And it kind of reminds me of Super Mario Galaxy 2, the levels where they were the 2D versions of it, where you're going left to right. And there was a little bit of the verticality or the depth to it, but at the end of the day, you're just going up and down or whatever. And then the demo ends with this boss fight that is one of the most fun boss fights I've played in years. And it reminds me of the old school PS2 era titles.
Action games.
I'm saying, I'm comparing it to a lot of games, but everything I'm mentioning is awesome things. So I think that this really is a little bit of this, a little bit of that type of game, but all those things are why I like playing video games.
Sounds awesome.
Super stoked about it. It comes out on March 7th. So hopefully Resident Evil, Horizon, and then that are going to be my trajectory for games.
To lead you into the Switch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Are you going to touch Mass Effect or no?
No.
No. Okay.
I don't really care about Mass Effect. Never have. Never will. Yeah. When's that? March 21st?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the thing.